The situation has changed. We no longer need your screws. That's what I was told during the sudden call I received, right before the skyscraper's completion. Just as I was dealing with the call, the president of the contracting company canceled an order for screws worth $200,000. Meanwhile, my employees were busily loading the ordered screws onto a truck. Facing my hard-working employees, I wondered if the man on the phone lacked any semblance of a heart. Unable to bear it any longer, angered, I decided to give him exactly what he wanted. "If you want to cancel, then there's nothing we can do about it," I said, as I signaled my employees to halt and retreat. Everyone was stunned. If that's what the client wants, then that's what we have to do. Yes, we will have to take back all the screws. I led my employees towards the skyscraper. My name is Jin. I'm 48 years old and currently the president of a company that manufactures and processes screws and bolts. A business I inherited from my father. My company is blessed with skilled craftsmen, a solid support from the previous generation. For my team, I'm committed to pushing our sales every day. Among our clients, there are those who delay payments or complain about orders. When I first became president, it was tough, facing companies that would blatantly look down on us. Such attitudes can have a negative impact on our company's performance. Once you are seen as weak, it's over. I now understand the struggles my father used to talk about. My father must have worked hard to ensure his company wasn't just seen as a subcontractor. Determined not to be outdone by him, I honed my negotiation skills desperately. Careful responses and proactive negotiations. Identifying the root cause of problems and solving them immediately. Gradually, as I built a track record, trust and credibility grew, and our clients began to recognize me. Just when everything seemed to be on track, a new problem began to occur. It was a job request from one of our clients' president. "Hey, Jin, how's business? Sorry to bother you, but we urgently need some parts. Anything you have left over will do. Just send them our way." It was President Brown. A client since my father's time, who always seems to think it's okay to just ask for products off the cuff. He's a director at a construction company, having handled everything from single-family homes to skyscrapers. We had a good relationship since my father's era, but lately, it's been a source of concern. Again, Mr. President. This is the third request this month. The frequency is clearly increasing. What started as a few pieces has now become requests for more than a dozen at a time. No matter how you look at it, we can keep this up without jeopardizing our business. I'm sorry, President Brown, but I would like you to purchase them this time. I have employees to pay, and we need the sales for their sake. As a business owner responsible for my employees' livelihoods, I thought he would empathize with my situation. However, contrary to my expectations, the president gave a cold response. "Come on, after all the favoritism I've shown your company, you're saying this. What do your employees have to do with me? Sort it out yourself, or we'll cease doing business in the future." I could sense anger in his words. Despite what I thought was a good relationship, I never expected such a cold response. "So, does that mean you're also canceling our ongoing deal?" As much as I wanted to stand firm for my employees, a cancellation now would be problematic. Of course, it's not like we can find another company to work with if yours is going to be stingy. Actually, we currently have a construction project for a tower building. Thanks to this project, I've received an order from President Brown for screws worth about $200,000. This tower project is not only a great opportunity for significant revenue, but also an excellent chance to showcase our company's reliability and technical expertise. It would be disastrous if we stopped production now. Our company would go bankrupt. Please, anything but that. But it's true that I've become unable to stand up to the president who gave us this chance. Ever since he took on this construction project, I've felt his attitude grow more arrogant. He wouldn't have said such disrespectful things before. Then, as a sign of your sincerity, send the screws within this week. Neither of us can afford to fail. Let's continue to get along well. Being recognized by the public or within the industry is an honor for us, business owners. However, that doesn't mean we should neglect our clients. The president, who had become arrogant, continued to make unreasonable demands. About that skyscraper in downtown, we're short on craftsmen and in a bind. Didn't you say you have a few employees who can handle construction? Could you send them over? Our company does take on some construction management, but we haven't dealt with anything as large as skyscrapers. Right now, our employees are already working overtime daily for the screw production for the skyscraper. So sparing anyone is extremely difficult. Mr. President, the delivery is due soon, right? We're working at full speed to meet the deadline, so we really can't spare anyone. Not meeting the delivery and having the order canceled would be a problem. I was more nervous than ever, knowing we couldn't afford to fail. But the president didn't seem to care about my situation at all. It's fine if you can't deliver everything by the deadline. Just send them bit by bit. You should be able to arrange that much. You're a business owner, aren't you? Are your employees so incompetent that you can't even manage that? Why does it turn out this way? I don't understand how one can speak from such a high horse when asking for help. That's not the case. I'm just saying we can't spare any more manpower. You're struggling with a labor shortage too, right? I wish you could understand that. Honestly, I wish they wouldn't take unreasonable demands for granted. If we keep accepting everything, we'll never be able to say no in the future. Remembering my father's words, I pleaded with the president for understanding. But it seems like the president had no intention of understanding my position. I'm offering you a business opportunity. It's not that I'm in trouble due to a lack of personnel. At that moment, I was speechless. The sophistry was so blatant, I was left with my mouth agape. It made me question why I had been desperately maintaining this relationship. To think such a childish person is in charge of others as a business owner is shameful. To this president, anything that can be used will be used, merely a tool. Even among business owners, disregarding a partner's circumstances to this extent is despicable. Even so, are you planning to refuse? You can imagine what will happen if you upset me. The president, hinting at the worst possible outcome at this point, is nothing short of a villain. It's not a business opportunity. It feels more like he's threatening our livelihood with money. Faced with a choice, I was forced to make a bitter decision. Sending employees to work under the worst kind of manager was something I wanted to avoid, more so than having a $200,000 large order canceled. With the possibility of not knowing what they would be forced to do, the only option left was to nod an agreement. I decided to dispatch a few veterans to assist with the skyscraper construction. Of course, this would leave us short-staffed. But by delaying orders from other clients and helping out in the factory myself, I made an effort to produce things efficiently. The employees did their best. And as a result, despite the shortage of manpower, production progressed smoothly, and we were on track to meet the deadline. If everything continued this way, we would be able to complete the delivery successfully, and the skyscraper could be built. Just when I felt relieved, the worst possible turn of events was waiting for me. The situation has changed. We no longer need your screws. Just as the skyscraper was nearing completion, I received a sudden call, and the client company's president canceled an order worth $200,000 in screws. Even as I took the call, my employees were diligently loading screws onto a truck. Facing my hard-working staff, I wondered if the man on the phone lacked any semblance of a heart. Unable to tolerate his rashness any further, and angered, I decided to comply with his wish. If you want to cancel, then it can't be helped. I told my employees, signaling them to pack up and retreat. If that's what the client wants, then that's what we have to do. Yes, we will have to take back all of the screws. I led my employees towards the skyscraper. As expected, the president called the next day. I just got a call from the site. Some of the screws used in the skyscraper have been pulled out. Was this your doing? I could hear the panic in his voice, and I realized that my harassment had its effect. Yesterday, I had taken my employees to the skyscraper. We were there to retrieve our screws that had been canceled. Even if they were used, they were our valuable products. It was only natural to reclaim them. The whole situation was absurd. Canceling at the last minute is out of the question. Not only using our important products but also causing trouble in our business operations by nitpicking. And now canceling and voiding the contract, it's all utterly indefensible. Our employees were involved in the skyscraper's construction, so they knew exactly which screws to remove to barely maintain its structure. Unlike the employees hired by the client's president, ours are veterans through and through. Their top-notch construction skills made this feat passable. Do you realize what you're doing? Attach those screws back immediately, otherwise, we can't move on to the next phase. The president yelled, not considering others' feelings. I thought it served him right. So, does that mean you're canceling the cancellation? That would mean, in addition to the original $200,000, we'll need an additional $100,000 for the new request. The president on the phone was furious. I wish he'd understand that we're even more upset than he is. After all the exploitation we faced, and then to be given a sudden cancellation, it was unthinkable. Regardless of the business opportunity or how long we've been supported since my father's time. Disrespecting my employees and my company is a grave offense that I'll make him realize. Don't mess with me. How can I accept such a demand? Today, a president from a major corporation is coming for an inspection. If they see the state, it will be obvious we won't meet the deadline. We could go bankrupt. The president, clearly valuing this client greatly, showed his emotions as he demanded the screws be put back. The risk of bankruptcy is the same for us. If we get canceled and can't recoup the money, we might have to shut down. That's why we can back down. Then please transfer $100,000 upfront as a prepayment. Next, $200,000 for the manufacturing of the screws, and an additional $100,000 for the cancellation fee. That makes a total of $400,000, correct? I started to enjoy this as I raised a price. A voiceless scream could be heard from the other end of the phone. There couldn't be anything more enjoyable than this. You've doubled the price, haven't you? Enough is enough. Do you think you can do this and not pay a price? If you anger me, you'll regret it later. Finally, losing his patience, the president started making threats, but I remained completely unfazed. Thanks to a clever innovation by one of our employees, the president knew he couldn't place orders with any other company but ours. That's my line. The screws you ordered this time have been modified for high-rises. They can't be installed with screws from any other company. Even if there were an alternative, it wouldn't be guaranteed for durability, and above all, it's impossible to prepare screws that would cost $200,000 now. An employee who we sent to help the president had suggested a smart tweak to enhance the screw's strength. The employee was proud that our products were the only option. This gave us a bargaining chip. The screws are irreplaceable. The CEO was silenced by the fact that it had been revealed for the first time. He must have realized he was backed into a corner. It's hard to make out over the phone, but he's muttering under his breath. It seems like his hatred for me is spilling out. Also, an employee had brought me some information. The company that planned the construction of the high-rise building this time. I know their secret. An employee who went to help on site had heard it from other workers. Listen, this high-rise building construction is from White Construction, a well-known company, right? For your information, I happen to know the president, and I was thinking of reporting this matter to him. We've only exchanged business cards once, but it was enough for a bluff. The moment I revealed this fact, the CEO's demeanor changed drastically. You know President White, stop it, don't say anything unnecessary. White Construction is among the top companies in the construction industry. In particular, President White is known within the industry for being honorable and not tolerating any dishonesty. If a company engaged in malpractices or treated subcontractors poorly, he would not give them any work. From his reaction, it's clear that White Construction is an important client. Please, I beg you. It was my fault, so don't speak out. If we're abandoned by White Construction now, our company won't be able to survive. Suddenly becoming meek, the CEO's attitude change was all too convenient. After all the trouble he's caused my company, asking not to speak out doesn't cut it. Showing sincerity absolutely requires money. Listen, I don't particularly want an apology. If you truly feel sorry, then immediately transfer $400,000, then we can install the screws. $400,000. It's double the revenue, but considering what's been done to us until today, it's a small price to pay. Even under such conditions, the CEO promised to pay the money. As soon as the transfer was confirmed, I, along with my employees, headed towards the nearly completed high-rise to install the screws. After that, the construction of the high-rise resumed. President White visited for an inspection and was deeply moved seeing the nearly completed high-rise. Are these screws custom-made? I've never seen anything like them before. I want to know the details about these screws. Upon noticing the existence of the screws our company developed, President White made an appointment with my company to discuss the screws' capabilities. The president of the client company, having seen my screws being praised, was said to be visibly frustrated. Why focus on the screws? The high-rise I built is way more impressive, isn't it? Screws, of all things, screws are just parts made by subcontractors. It must have been incredibly frustrating to have the interest of an important client taken by unknown screws rather than the construction of the high-rise itself. For President White, it seemed that he was more interested in screws and architectural technology than the high-rise itself. Being a president who originally worked on-site, his affection for parts must be immeasurable. I should never have commissioned your company. I will never request work from you again. Just go bankrupt already. After spitting out his lines full of frustration, the client's CEO hung up the phone. That turned out to be our last conversation. I felt a sense of relief and my mood lightened. Initially, I was thrilled to hear about this high-rise construction project. But when I saw the CEO's tyrannical methods, I regretted it. I'm the one who doesn't want to work with him ever again. Though he wished my company would fail, his misfortune continued. Subsequently, the completed high-rise faced scandals in parts other than the screws, ending up unsellable. It was an unexpected turn of events that left me astonished. After that, the client CEO's luck went downhill as if he was rolling down a slope. Following the scandal, there was an outpouring of grievances from other subcontractors. And when this news reached President White, it resulted in a loss of work. Told by subcontractors they would never take on his work again, the isolated president had no choice but to declare bankruptcy. Any company that disrespects subcontractors deserves to fail. Who do you think is working hard on the ground? It's each and every craftsman. Disregarding them is absolutely unacceptable. There was considerable anger over the scandal involving our former business partner. I remember hearing President White say he wanted to change the construction industry. Having come up from the field and facing hardships himself, he doesn't want others to endure the same feelings. Many companies agree with President White's humane principles, and it seems the industry will be led by such figures. In contrast, the fate of the abandoned president was dire. There are various reasons for a company's bankruptcy, but isolation beyond poor cash flow can be cited as one. Lost trust and credibility can never be regained. If you can maintain relationships with clients and employees, the CEO is merely a figurehead, and the company cannot survive. After bankruptcy, the CEO became a shadow of his former self. Abandoned by his family, he's reportedly now in a mental hospital. He's said to be muttering something to himself in bed. "I'm not at fault, I'm not the one to blame." Cut his shift to blaming others stem from having been in a privileged position. The idea that having subcontractors meant he was special, and to end up this way, is something I don't even want to imagine. The tragedy was too harsh for me to do anything but fall silent. I must be vigilant to ensure I don't end up like that. Now I understand why my dad was so obsessed with maintaining a credible image. To maintain oneself as a trustworthy person beyond money, one must not do anything to lower one's own status. Only at this age have I come to realize the greatness of what my father did. Truly, running a business is profound. Since then, I have started taking screw orders from White Construction. Thanks to this, not only did I secure a more stable income than before, but work also naturally started coming in from other companies. In these times of severe labor shortages, getting work is a blessing. But we are short on hands. Being able to expand a business like this and recruit talent is a matter of pride for any entrepreneur. Despite the hardships caused by that incident, I believe the outcome has been more rewarding. It was worth the struggle. Wanting to thank the employees who worked hard this time, I planned a trip to show my appreciation. It's because of them, who have been with us since my father's time, that this company stands. I couldn't have overcome these challenges alone. In today's world, it's tough to live by oneself, be it a company or an individual. I plan to continue working for their sake. Isn't that the duty of the second generation, taking over from my dad? Going forward, I aim to grow the company and hopefully turn it into a large corporation like President White someday. I feel like that would make for a proud report to my father in heaven.